everyone. Welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I want to welcome you this grand, what is this, Christmas Day? Is that what this is? You know what? This is Christmas Day, and what better way to celebrate Christmas than to do a top 10 list? We could do reviews of other Christmas horror films, but if you've been listening to our show this month, you realize we've already been doing that. So we're doing something a little special for you on Christmas Day by doing a top 10 list. And the top 10 list you are going to listen to today is the top 10 sci-fi horror films. And to discuss their top sci-fi horror films with me, I am bringing along my special guest, Sarah Panazzo, who will have some amazing choices, I'm sure. Thank you for joining us on the show today, Sarah.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm sure our choices are going to be very similar.
You know what? I really think they are too, because me and you are kind of a little old school with some of this stuff, and we probably won't have any modern day films to put on there. But
I found a couple.
No, I found a couple too, and you might be surprised. But I will say this for everyone listening to the show today: what we're going to do is we're going to go through our top 10, starting with number 10 and working our way up to number 1. Now, if one of our films overlaps before we get to number 1, we will just briefly mention it in our actual list, so that we don't reiterate some of the stuff we've already talked about. We will also, at the very end of this episode, kind of mention a couple of the ones that didn't make the cut, but still are worth mentioning. All right. So now that I've got all that out of the way, I am going to ask you, Panazzo, for your number 10 on your top 10 sci-fi horror films to get us started.
So I had to group a few of mine together because they are from the same series. Because otherwise I was going to have way too many movies. So my number 10 is Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. Because I really love Cloverfield. I remember seeing it in the theaters and freaking out about how effective it was. And then going back a few years ago, I rewatched it and I forgot how many big names are in that movie.
Yeah.
But it is just a phenomenal movie. And then 10 Cloverfield Lane, you've got the whole more suspense thriller than anything. And then you know what's in the same universe. So that one was also just as fun. I mean, you've got your creepy ass alien monsters that you don't really know what the hell's going on with them, and it's some really effective horror. I mean, found footage too, so it's really well done. It's genuinely creepy. So that is my number 10.
Interesting enough, for everyone who's listening to the program, we actually covered the entire Cloverfield franchise earlier this year during our franchise month, and I absolutely love all 3 films, but for different reasons. You'll have to listen to those episodes. I know you're looking at me crazy because of the Cloverfield paradox, but you do need to listen to those podcasts where we kind of discuss all 3 of those movies. I didn't think about putting those on my list at all, and yet they do belong on the sci-fi horror film. I didn't think about that now until you said that. That's actually very interesting. So, but for my number 10, and I have to look here, is I know I'm hoping this is on your list, and you might look down on me because I put it so low on my list, but I'm going to go with Cabin in the Woods for my number 10.
I didn't even have that on mine. I love that movie, but I didn't consider it sci-fi, I guess.
See, that's the thing is that, to be honest with you, until they reveal that it's all kind of a setup by these people, this scientific community, and them trying to kind of like an experiment type thing, you don't think of it as a sci-fi film. But I've always thought of it that way because of the fact that it would have been just a normal kind of almost zombie film until all that stuff is revealed, and then you start thinking about, oh shit, this is a much more complex film, and yet it's so fucking great and funny. And I every time I watch this film, I enjoy it a little bit more.
Absolutely. I still love the dry erase board scene where they're taking bets on all the different things, and just all of the little Easter eggs on that board are fantastic.
It is. It's one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies that I always wish had been a much more successful film at the box office. But it's a cult movie like right out the gate because of all the controversy
100%.
for how long it came to the theater, kind of like Trick or Treat, which we've discussed before in the previous.
Hmm.
Cabin in the Woods is just another one of those type of movies where it was a cult movie before it came out. And it's a great movie, great movie. Hands down, it's one of my favorites. And I now think about it and I say, shit, I should put it a little higher on my list.
It's all good. I had a lot of trouble, even like most of my list isn't even like 10 down to one. I have like my top two, but everything else is like tied for a top position because there's just so many good ones.
Yeah, I kind of like that with my top two. My top two will probably never change. I can't wait to get to those, but yeah, my top two will never change. All right. So we're gonna move along and go to your number nine then.
So my number nine, I'm gonna go with Prey from
Ah,
the Predator series. I wasn't a huge fan of Predator and Predator 2. My husband isn't listening right now, so he can't hear me say that. But Prey was such a well done movie. I love the whole concept of throwing a predator into another timeline. I really enjoyed the animated movie that they just came out with because it makes
mhm.
sense. A predator's going to cross all time periods, and I thought it was just really well done.
Yeah.
It was ingenious, especially for the time period it takes place in. It has its really good horror with the night scenes. It is wonderfully shot. But I am so invested in anything else they come out with like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting you put that on there on your list because the predators are so much more advanced than we are. And sometimes like that film, people might forget the sci-fi aspects of it because it's an alien. I actually like Prey for a lot of the reasons that you just said, but also because that movie does a really good job halving the story between the predator and
Hmm.
the Native American character. I can't remember her name. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I can't remember her name, but the story does a really good job with having both of those two stories and then blending them all in to make a really effective and entertainment film. So it's yeah, that's not on my
Yeah.
list, but that would be a great one to put on
The
there.
effects in it are so good too.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
no, no, I will agree with you on that one. Okay, getting along to my number nine is also another film that we've discussed on the program already, which is the original Canadian film Cube. Um,
that one was one of mine too.
I've loved Cube since I have a guilty pleasure for all of the Cube movies, Cube Hyper Zero, Cube Zero, and even the Japanese version remake of Cube. I have this soft spot for those damn movies, no matter how many flaws are in the sequels. I think the original Cube is completely flawless. I love that movie, and it the minimalism that it took to make that film yet make it so succinct and so successful because it's so minimalistic
It
and
is.
so
It's
effective.
insane what they've done with one set.
Yeah, it's insane. And yeah, and another thing is, I read about a lot of the behind the scenes on them making the film, and that made me enjoy the film even more. So, another film for everyone listening. If we have done that film on the program before, so please check out that episode.
Yes, I remember that was the first time I'd ever seen it was when we talked about it on the podcast, and I went and binged the other ones before we even got to finish talking about it because I was so invested in it.
Yeah. All right, moving on to your number eight.
Um, my number eight's going to be the newer Invisible Man.
Okay.
I really love how they modernized the entire story and made it. I mean, like the original story's creepy as it is, but it's even creepier with what they've done, where they're basically making her be solitary. Everything that she's had communications with, they managed to get people to excommunicate her from their community and everything else. And it's just so intense in a modern day sense. Like, I didn't think what they could possibly do to make that movie even scarier, but they've managed to do it in a modern sense, which I think was really, really well done.
Yeah, I think that was really hard to come up with an ideal where you can make people believe that that technology could be used today instead of it seeming like such a far-fetched concept to begin with. And I think it was really effective the way they did it because they kind of maintained the themes of the original story, but told it from like a different perspective that made it much more of a personal story. And I really loved that aspect. And they got a brilliant
Yeah.
fucking actress to play in the film.
Oh, I mean, the whole cast is great in it, and then just the scares in it in general, like the empty rooms. Like you don't even have to have anything there. It's that whole like we've talked about it multiple times, putting everything in widescreen because you
Yes.
know something is there in the background, and that movie takes advantage of that so much.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll tell you, this movie was one of the films that almost made my top 10. It was so far that one was almost there. I was like, it almost was there because that was one of the more recent films for me that I think is the epitome of a great sci-fi horror film. And I hope a lot more people, if you've never seen the new Lin-Manuel directed written film, The Invisible Man, you should definitely check it out. So. What number are we on? Number
Uh,
eight? Eight?
yes, eight.
Okay. So number eight for me is a guilty pleasure. I will not say whether or not it's a great film or not, but I've seen it more times than I probably should have, and it's a big cult movie now. But I'm gonna go with Event Horizon, because I absolutely love this movie for all its faults. I love Event Horizon. It is gory, it is space, and I love space movies. I love space horror films, and they're not given enough credit ever, except the Alien franchise. Space sci-fi horror films are never given the credit they deserve, and I believe Event Horizon is one of the epitomes of one of the great ones out there. So I don't know what you think about that, but that's what I think about this movie.
Kevin, this was one of my top five.
Oh wow!
Constantly, if I have an issue with my eyes or something, I'll go, where we're going, we won't need eyes to see. It is like one of my go-to lines. I absolutely adore this movie, even to the point that just started receiving the new comic book
Oh, have you?
prequels, I think it is. So no, I love this movie. It's so well done. It's so creepy. I know that the first time I watched it, I was a little underwhelmed because I kept hearing about how scary it was and how out of this world insane it was. And then finding out that that version that a lot of people view doesn't even exist anymore. And I'm never going to get to see it. And so I'm like, as much as I would love a remake of this, just because some of the CGI is just a little but it is such a good movie. It is such crazy good concept that I would love to see explored again. I mean, hell, Sphere is like a prequel to it at some point, but who knows?
So with this film, I fucking love the cast of this film, and it's a cast that you would not normally see in a sci-fi
Yes,
horror film. Lawrence Fishburne and oh my god, I can't
yeah.
remember her name.
Jason Isaac, Sam Neill. I mean,
I forgot the one actress's name. Oh my god. Oh, it was a film that I was not expecting these people to be in for one, and then what happens to them in the film blew me
yes.
away. And I saw this at the theater when it first came out, and the fucking soundtrack is amazing. I freaking love the soundtrack of this film, and I bought it and listened to it a billion times. I love this movie. And that's why I say it's guilty pleasure for me. I know that the version that we both want to see doesn't exist anymore, and I've seen pictures and photos of all the stuff that was cut that we'll never see. It's a shame, but it's still such a great movie to me. So.
Yeah. Now, if only the director didn't waste so much time on Resident Evil movies, maybe we could have gotten some more Event Horizon. But
that's what happens when those movies make too damn much money. All right, we're gonna go to your number seven. Seven, yes.
so my number seven is Nope. I absolutely loved this movie. I went to theaters to see it, and I don't know what I expected, but a giant alien devouring people alive and a blood rainstorm on a house and just all of the visuals that went with this that you were not expecting, especially the opening scene with the monkey on the TV show. Like, it's an insane movie. And it's so disturbing, but it is so, so good. And it's an amazing cast.
So you will not believe this, but my number seven movie is also Nope. Uh, I think this is by far, and I know some people out there is going to give me some slack for this. It is Jordan Peele's most accomplished film.
Yes.
I think that he took what he learned from Get Out and what he learned what not to do after Us and crafted a really visually brilliant and written film with some really strong performances by everyone in that cast. And
Yes.
he created an alien that was both menacing and visually beautiful at the same time. And you couldn't
Yes.
take your eyes off of it. It was such a, yeah, cinematography in this movie is,
It's unbelievable. The behind the scenes pictures of like the blood drenching over the house, the way they shot the night scenes. I mean, it's so well done.
it's extremely well done, and it made me believe that Jordan Peele is actually a really great storyteller, and he's learning really fast because this is his third feature length film under
Yes.
command of all of this. And I was like, holy shit. Because I kind of thought that he was a one-hit wonder with Get Out. Uh, after Us has its issues, in
Yes.
my opinions. Nope, I don't think has any issues for me. That's why it was on my list,
No,
and it's one
it's
of
a
the,
wonderful movie. Like, holy shit.
yeah, yeah, I agree, and that's why it's my number seven as well. Oh shit! So I guess we're gonna just skip back to you and go back to number six.
Yeah, 'cause we've now gone over a few of mine, so I only have five left.
Oh well, what's your number six then?
Um, so I actually had 11 when we started, but we've gone over Event Horizon, Cube, and now Nope that we've had together.
All right. So it goes back to me for right now.
I think so.
Okay, so this is my since my number six is related to one of yours already, it's gonna be funny because I probably would have put yours on there before the one I'm putting on there, except for the fact of my nostalgia, which is the original Predator, which I saw at the theater when it first came out. So I did, when you were a kid and you see these movies at the theater for the very first time, I had no preconceived notions of the monster in Predator. It was more or less me and my dad going to go see a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger because my dad was a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. So we go to see this movie, and they're trying not to show audiences all that stuff back in the days. You don't have five fucking trailers for a movie. You have like one trailer and then one TV trailer, and that's all you get. So I'm going to go see it mostly for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's him and the badass in the jungle doing badass things. And when I saw the Predator for the very first time, that became my number two monster of all time after the alien xenomorph. Like, hands down, that became my. And I have a guilty pleasure for all the Predators because of the first one. So I understand they're not all good. Everyone who's listening to this podcast, I understand they're not all that good, but for me, they're just some of the most fucking awesome, entertaining films out there, and I can't separate good quality sometimes from bad qualities.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's one of the greater movie villains we have because he has rules. There are specific rules for the Predator, whereas we're used to not having rules for most of these monsters that are dealt with.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, so Predator had to be on my list. So it's a precursor. Obviously, if I'm saying that Predator is my number two monster, you'll obviously see the number one monster on there eventually. So, let's get on with you then, and you're number five since we skipped your number six.
So my number five is going to be The Substance.
Ah,
I was absolutely blown away at this earlier last year. Maybe I saw it earlier this year. I can't remember exactly when I saw it, but absolutely loved it. Loved the mashup of stuff like Reanimator and every other like weird body horror-esque movie. It's so grotesque in a realistic way because as a woman, like I'm used to seeing the double standards, and I mean even the award circuit that happened where Demi Moore was bypassed for Margaret Qualley as Best Actress or whatever else, she kept being defeated by these young women. And it's like, this is fucking Demi Moore. She was a sex idol earlier on in her career, and now like she's still fucking gorgeous. And this movie just puts everything that's wrong with beauty standards, especially when you've got Dennis Quaid eating a mountain of shrimp. It's like, ugh. There were so many grotesque things in this movie, especially all the needles. I have a really hard time with needles, so it's a lot if you don't like needles, but holy shit, is it a beautiful movie.
Okay. So surprisingly, I have not seen The Substance yet. It's still on my list. I have not seen it yet. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy. Like I don't know why you have not seen that, Kevin. I just haven't gotten around to it, unfortunately, and it wasn't on one of the streaming services I own, so I have not seen it yet, which is sad. But since it's on your list so high, I need to put it on my list very high to actually get around to watching, which it still is. It's high on my list. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I was gonna say it was tied as number one for me for last year as
Oh,
top movies.
okay. Well, shit. Okay, that's high
So
praise.
yeah, the effects in this are absolutely brilliant. So anybody who's looking for like, I want to say a Cronenberg-esque disgusting body horror film, this is the movie for you.
Well, speaking of Cronenberg, and one of my favorite directors of all time, coming in at number 5 for me is one of my all-time favorites, which is Videodrome. When I saw that as a kid, my mind was fucking blown. Uh, because I had experienced a movie, I had no idea what they were talking about, yet I was so engrossed with it. I kept watching this film as a kid, and it frankly fucked my brain up for a little bit there, because that's what Videodrome and David Cronenberg does to you. David Cronenberg, this is one of the movies that made David Cronenberg one of my favorite directors of all time. This and The Fly are by far two of the films that made me follow his career and what he does as a film. And surprisingly, I've seen Videodrome probably more than any of his other films, simply because I can't, like the characters in the film, I can't stop watching this fucking movie. I don't know why. It's a movie that draws me in, and James Woods, I think, is one of his finest performances in any movie he's ever done. So it's like, I love Videodrome, and I know it's not the cup of tea of a lot of people because it's a movie that's really out there. But as far as sci-fi horror films are, this is one of my all-time favorite ones right here.
See, now it's your turn to glare at me because I haven't seen it. And I need to.
You know what? There's a lot of people who haven't seen a lot of Cronenberg's films. They know his more famous ones. They've all seen The Dead Zone, which I don't think is
Hmm.
one of his most accomplished movies. It's but
No.
and a lot of people have seen The Fly, most definitely The Fly.
Hmm.
But Videodrome is like, if you weren't there when it came out and you didn't watch it in that decade, it's one of those films that just easily passes you by until someone tells you you need to go watch it. Especially now in this day and age when Cronenberg does the weirdest fucking movies known to mankind.
Yes, and so do his children.
So his children.
Because I had a hard time not putting any of their movies on this list because they are so bizarre.
Yes, they are bizarre. Yeah, yeah, I know. Jeez.
But because you just brought them up, I'm going to skip to my number two because my number two was The Fly. I absolutely adore this movie. I think it was the first Cronenberg movie I had ever seen. And I love Jeff Goldblum. I love Gina Davis. And it is just a brilliant and disgusting movie.
Well, you know what? My number 4 was The Fly. So Videodrome is my my number 5. Of course, Cronenberg's going to be on there again at number 4 with The Fly. That was the first film of his I've ever saw, and my parents, because my parents didn't know how gross it was going to be. We kind of watched it all together like a family, if you could believe that, people. When it first came out, I think it's 86 or 88. I can't remember the actual year. We watched it as a family, and my mom was probably thinking it was closer to the original black and white The Fly, and not what we actually watched. I was like, I wasn't terrified, but kind of oddly attracted to this strange fucking movie and thought that I think this is one of the first movies I realized who Jeff Goldblum actually was,
Hmm.
and Gina Davis, two of the actors who I both loved and followed their careers forever. Even now, I'm still following fucking Jeff Goldblum's because he could do no wrong, in my opinion. But the thing is, this movie, from a story standpoint, from a filmmaking standpoint, from the music, freaking amazing
Yes.
score, I think this is Cronenberg by far. I think it's his best film ever. Is The Fly. Videodrome is a close second, and then okay, the other film that a lot of people have seen is Scanners, which I actually
Scanners,
don't put
yeah.
on my top five of his films. For some reason, people loved Scanners, but I just thought it was okay. But those two films are by far my favorite two films he's ever done, because they showed so much filmmaking technique and story that this man can do. So yeah,
Yeah, I
my
mean, it is one of the most effective movies of all time when you put everything into perspective, from the writing to the effects to the music to the lighting. I mean, everything about it is like a masterclass in filmmaking.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so hopefully everyone's out there has seen The Fly because I haven't seen The Substance yet, and you haven't seen Videodrome. So all right, so that was your number two, but I did my number five and number four, so I guess I could go to my number three. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Okay, my number three, it may be diverse for a lot of people on listening because they hate the ending. There's a lot of people who hate the ending to this movie, and that is The Mist from Frank Darabont. I fucking yeah, we've talked about The Mist on the show already before, and I think this is one of my I love Frank Darabont as a director, and I think for me. This and The Shawshank Redemption are two of my all-time favorite movies, and it's kind of hard to depict which one I like better, but and I've seen both of them way more times than I ever should.
Yes.
I've seen both of those movies way more time, but The Mist for me is much more fun because I can watch it in the black and white version or the color version and still love that movie. I don't think I
Yes.
want to see some Shawshank Redemption in black and white.
No, no, that movie's depressing enough as it is. I don't need to add it into black and white. But no, like, even Stephen King has come out and said that The Mist is probably the most well done movie of his that has happened, because the ending is so much more brutal than what he could have ever come up with. And the creatures are creepy, like they always would be in Stephen King's world. The religious horror of the cult in the grocery store is insane, but that ending is like the most memorable part of the entire movie.
It is. Yeah, watching Thomas Jane's reaction after he's killed his son and realized what's happened, and I like, dude, it's heartbreaking. The movie's heartbreaking. Jesus.
Yes, there's those movies where like you have to have the heartbreaking, like awful ending, like The Descent. You got to go with
Oh,
the original one. This is the same thing. You can't always have a happy ending where everybody survives, and this is just one of those brutal endings.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, I'm trying to induct a lot more people to this because a lot of my friends who don't always watch horror did not like the movie simply because they didn't like the ending.
Hmm.
I have to kind of go through and tell them why they should reevaluate the movie. Not that their opinions are wrong or right, that they should go back and reevaluate the story that's being told. But I don't have to do that with Shawshank Redemption. Most people get that one with no problems. But The Mist, because of the ending, I have so many friends who don't like it because of the ending. They'll say they
Hmm.
love the rest of the movie until it gets to the ending. I was like, that's like the most powerful ending for a
That's,
movie in a long time.
yeah, that's the point.
Point. I actually love The Mist. And I think that's the only Stephen King film. Yeah, I think that's the only Stephen King film on my list.
Yeah, that was the only one of mine. It didn't quite make the top 10, but I absolutely loved that movie. I don't know. I was just like, everything else seemed more sci-fi than The Mist to me, but no, I love that movie. It's got a very special place in my heart.
Well, if you realize so far when we're going through these, very few of mine is like complete sci-fi horror, like Event Horizon would be like,
Well, and there's so many different generalities of sci-fi, which was one of the things that I wanted to bring up, is like you've got the whole alien aspect, you've got zombie plagues aspect, you've got the whole Lovecraftian aspect, which kind of combines the both. So it can be kind of all over the place with sci-fi.
Yep.
Because we barely even like scratched the edge of covering enough of the bases of sci-fi.
We did. We already did. You're still, I'm still ahead of you, right? Because you already did your,
I have three left.
okay, you do one of yours.
So my number three and my number two are both twofers. So
Okay.
my number three is going to be Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein. Because you've got to go with the original sci-fi horror, especially since we've had so many iterations of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein come out this year alone. Um, and just all the news of more and more of them being made. But you got to go back to the originals. I mean, it was the original gothic horror, the original scientific horror. I mean, who else builds a body and animates it? Uh, but just all of the iterations I can possibly say. They're fascinating stories. The science is always unbelievable. The effects that they do are just out of this world. But I had to throw them in there.
Well, it's fine. You know what? I completely forgot to even think about those. Everyone knows how much I loved Bride of Frankenstein. And yet I completely did not put that on my list for some odd reason. Um, and I'm a little ashamed of that. I did not put any older movies on this film like that. And Bride of Frankenstein most definitely needs to be on my list. Frankenstein itself, because I love Bride of Frankenstein more than Frankenstein, I usually put that one way above it. I love both of them equally well, and I will watch them both all the time. And we have discussed Bride of Frankenstein already in
Yes.
the program, so we already know how much people already know how much I love Bride of Frankenstein. So
Like I said, I had to bundle a bunch of these because I was like, we'd have too many movies to go over. I need a top 20 list at that point.
yeah, one day we'll we'll publish our list of top 100 horror sci-fi horror as dictated by the guests of Conversations in Horror. So be on the lookout for that one, everyone who's listening. All right. What is your? You have two more, right?
Yes.
What is your next one? And it will be even again.
So I think our next two are going to be the same.
Okay.
Like I said, this one is also a twofer because I can't pick one or the other, but it is Alien and Aliens.
My number two is Aliens. So I understand. You go first, though. You tell me about yours.
Um, I've always just loved Alien. I mean, Ripley is such a great character. The first movie is just another masterclass of perfect acting, perfect writing, the sets, the effects. It's just an all around awesome space movie that has its horror elements that have stood the test of time to us even having new TV shows spinning off this year. So I absolutely adore Alien and Aliens. Most of the other ones I've done in the deep dark connecting of everything. So I've kind of like pushed off some of the in between ones, but these two are probably the best we will ever have for alien movies.
So with me, um, I was introduced to the original Alien on accident, because my brother wanted to see Aliens when it came out at the theater. And so we all sat down as a family and watched Alien, and I thought it was good. Uh, I thought it was scary. I actually remember thinking the original Alien was scary to me. I didn't really love it until I saw Aliens. So when we watched Aliens, and I was really warped because we've already talked about me seeing The Fly, and I saw both The Fly and Aliens the same night as a double feature. So Aliens we watched that one first, thank God, and that got me all primed and pumped and all that shit. And I freaking loved Aliens. And then I saw The Fly, and that really screwed my brain up when it shouldn't have from my parents' perspective. But going back to Aliens, that movie had for me, has such energy to it.
It really does.
It has this energy to it that the first one doesn't have, because the first one is played off more like a suspense thriller and less like an action horror hybrid.
100%. And that's why they're both so good. They're so different, but
So
they're
different.
fantastic.
And they are both the films I've seen in the entire franchise, and I've watched the entire franchise way more times than I ever should have. But the first two are the two that I've seen the most. But unfortunately for Alien, Aliens is the only one that if it's playing on TV, I will stop what I'm doing and I will watch it, no matter what part of the movie it's in. Alien, I don't do that for. But Aliens I do. So I've seen so that's why that one's on my list and not Alien. But I like you. I didn't want to put both of them on my list and it'd take up half my list, so I just put that one on there. So I agree with you. I should have just put them both together on my list, and that would have solved all my issues. That was yeah. So that being said, I guess we are on our last one already. So I gotta know what's your number one film, a hot sci-fi horror film?
I'm surprised you haven't guessed it already, Kevin, because we've talked about this movie hundreds of times
That's what
before.
I'm thinking is probably the one so my number one, which is why I want you to say it for all the people out there who may not know and seen our previous episode of the show about it. So I want you to say it first.
So, my number one sci-fi horror and general horror movie is The Thing.
Same here.
I I absolutely love this movie. Like John Carpenter, like I said, every time we talk about anybody doing anything in widescreen and having to look into the background, that's all I can think about is The Thing and Halloween and how he does that in all of his films.
Yeah.
And the effects are just fantastic. The general unease and horror that you get. And I mean, it's quite convenient that it's our number one pick, seeing as how it's roughly based in winter.
Yes, I didn't think about that either. Oh, Jesus. See, the thing, what I don't even know how I first saw the thing, to be honest with you. All I know is I saw the thing and it became one of these films, and I was always a monster kid growing up. And there are certain monsters that I really gravitated towards, which is why the Xenomorph from Aliens and the Predator are two of my all-time, and Godzilla, which is not on the list because I don't always consider Godzilla a sci-fi movie, and I didn't put them on the list. But I love monster movies, and by all means, The Thing and what John Carpenter crafted in his special makeup effects crew and all that created monsters I'd never seen before, and I still have never seen since. Not even
Yeah,
like a weird prequel with CGI monsters. And because they are all practical, they still fucking hold up extremely well to all the stuff that's being made now. It still holds up well. And the story is amazing. The actors and the characters are all amazing, and it's just one of those films that I've never tired of, and whenever I had a discussion about horror films and people ask me what horror film should I watch, I will always say go check out John Carpenter's The Thing. It is a flawless movie that it has aged beautifully, and I think it will continue to age beautifully because of all the elements that John Carpenter brought to this film. And you hit it on the nail with Halloween. It's his style, it's his technique, it's his eye for storytelling. He's brilliant at it. It's unfortunate he hasn't done a movie in a long time because now he's focusing on music, which is also great because some of his music is freaking phenomenal as hell. But I would love to see him do another great horror film because I think he hasn't lost his eye at all. I
no,
think he's just
not at all. Everything you said, 100%. There's a reason why people are still arguing about if anybody is the thing at the end of the movie. There are so many theories, and it's better that we don't know because it keeps that mystery alive. I mean, it's like you said, the practical effects are fantastic. You haven't seen monsters like that. You can see where they inspire some other monsters, but you haven't quite seen monsters like that.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's absolutely brilliant, and I'm hoping that everyone has seen this movie. If you haven't, you should definitely go out there and check it out. And if all you saw was the prequel and you were turned off by it, just go see the fucking John Carpenter one. I can't say it's the
There,
original one because there
there's
was
a
always
reason why the people at the Arctic base watch this on yearly repeats as a whole. It is a rite of passage for every horror fan.
and to be honest, the movie has inspired at least a special episode in just about every horror television show known to mankind. There's always someone who's stuck in an Arctic base somewhere doing. X-Files is one of the big ones who did their little Arctic
Mhm.
base monster and everything. It's like influenced so many different films.
Well, and just practical effects wise too, so many artists were inspired by just that movie that we have. God, who knows how many different movies that we've actually seen because they had seen that as a child.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, But that kind of it's great that we kind of overlapped on a lot of our movies, and especially our top two. So we have the same or similar taste in what we think is good. I need to watch some more modern day recent ones, obviously, because only Nope made my list. Which is okay, because I'm older than Panazzo here, and so my taste tends towards those films I grew up watching, which is going to happen when we do a top 10 list. We're going to gravitate as individual hosts and filmmakers and film lovers. We're going to gravitate to the stuff that we grew up with, and not so much the stuff that is more modern. Because I could guarantee you now, I think the only one that we've mentioned where I've seen more than once is The Invisible Man and Nope. All the
Hmm.
other modern day ones I haven't seen more than once because I've watched them once, and that's generally it. Since why my list has a lot more of the older films on it.
Well, and mine's pretty widespread. I mean,
Yeah,
going
of
all the
course.
way back to Frankenstein and all the way to last year's The Substance.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yours.
I've got to know some of your other missed ones that didn't quite make the list.
So I'm gonna let you know some of mine, and you can tell me some of yours. But all right, so obviously The Invisible Man was on my list, but
Mhm.
if I had allowed it to, and my one of my other titles I'm gonna say, there's gonna be a lot of people out there who wouldn't put it on the sci-fi horror film, but for me, it's always gonna be on a sci-fi horror movie just because of the person who made the movie, and that is John Carpenter's They Live, which I think is one of my favorite. It's such a fun movie, and the ideal that aliens have already taken over most of the world, and we're just they're puppets. It's a scary ideal, to be honest with you.
It is.
It's
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 a genius movie. It was on my list as well. Uh, because I remember watching it and I was like, man, this isn't even like that bad or that scary, but the concept
a
itself
concept.
nowadays is huge.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you more or less have almost homeless guy who figures out this whole alien plot, but the plot's over. The aliens have already taken over. It's like, oh shit, they're not trying to take over; they have
They're
taken.
already here.
Yeah, it's like wow, and I go back to this movie all the time. I actually there's a lot of Carpenter movies I go back to a lot, all the time. And if you've been listening to our program, everybody, and you've been listening, yeah, we've highlighted a lot of John Carpenter's films because I'm a huge fan. Uh,
Every single time we bring them up, it's like Wayne's World. We're not worthy, man.
yeah, we're not worthy of him. But They Live was definitely like my number 11 film. But I'm gonna mention probably a couple more, and I'm gonna let you go and say some of yours. But I do want to mention a more recent one that's also a diverse film, which is Annihilation, which I love. Um,
Yes.
Annihilation is this film. I've read the book too, and it doesn't really follow the book. I think it's a great adaptation. It took the concepts of the book and made it better, in my opinion. I fucking love Annihilation, and I'm sad I didn't see it at the theater. I only saw it when it came out on DVD, and when I saw it then, because it didn't seem like a movie that would interest me. I waited. I kind of waited. But when I saw that, my mind was blown. It was like, holy shit! How could I have missed this film at the theater? And I don't think it was sold right or something. I don't know. But I've read now all the books because of the movie. I went out and started reading the books and realized, oh, not really like the movie, but okay. But I still love the books too. But if there's people out there who just have read the book and then saw the movie and just hated the movie, I think you have to go in like I did and just watch the movie and realize it's different. And you will
Yes.
enjoy the concepts and the really fucked up ideology in that movie. And I fucking loved Annihilation.
It's also just a beautifully shot
It is
movie.
a beautifully shot movie as well. And I was like, wow. And then I had on my list, but Invisible Man keeps coming up. I'm sure. Annihilation, They Live, blah 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 blah. I had Invisible Man. I did have Splice on my
So did
list.
I.
Splice was on my list, and that one keeps moving up and down my list. Uh, uh, I think it was Vincenzo Natali who did Cube did that. I think that if I'm not mistaken, I always
I think so. I
yeah, I
can't
think so.
remember.
And I that's my Frankenstein fucking movie right there. My sci-fi version of Frankenstein is Splice. But
See, I
because
like to pair it with Ex Machina, which is also the guy who did Annihilation, because
yes,
they are both very similar movies.
yes, they are very similar movie, and that movie would it's I don't consider it horror. It's not on this list, but it is on my list of my favorite sci-fi movies. Just so you know, I love that movie. Splice is I love the Frankenstein mythos and story. I really do.
Hmm.
And that one did something different, only because of the idea that the creature that's created switches genders, and I was like when that happened in the movie, I was like, holy fucking shit, this is not going the way I thought it was going at all. And I get so engrossed with the story after that. And I was like, wow, that was my one of my mind blown films that I just absolutely love. And then I'm gonna mention one more because this is one that no I don't know anyone talks about this movie, but because I'm a sci-fi kind of a space sci-fi horror fan, I have to mention the little recognized film called Pandorum, which I absolutely love. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy, Panazzo, over there.
No, you're not, because it's really good. And I looked at it and I was like, it's been a while since I've seen it, but it's good.
No, see, I've seen that. I love my space movies and space horror movies, which is why Event Horizon so far on my list. And I don't think they're given enough credit because there are a lot of people who just can't like kind of get along with the idea of sci-fi and horror can be married in a very great way. But Pandorum is a really fucked up movie, almost like a haunted spaceship movie with monsters in it. And then when the big reveal happens at the very end, you're like, holy shit! And Ben Foster, I think, is an underrated actor.
He is
I
100%. I
really
miss
do.
that he's not in like anything anymore.
He's not, and when he is, it's small roles or stuff where he doesn't even look like himself. But I think he disappears as an actor in so many films, and it just sucked that this movie tanked the box office. Because even Dennis, was it Dennis Quaid couldn't save
Yes.
it. Dennis Quaid couldn't save this movie, and he's done so many damn random movies. It's ridiculous. I kind of wonder who his agent is. I was like, dude, Dennis, you do some of the most random fucking movies sometimes. So, but I love Pandorum. I try and tell people about it, but it's like one of those films that if they've seen it, they're like, that movie's fucking stupid, or they haven't seen it because they've not heard about it. So,
Hmm.
but those are the ones I want to tell you about. There's some more on my list, but those are the ones I wanted to mention the most. So you tell me yours.
Yeah, a lot of mine I had to take off because they were either they were horror sci-fi, but they were also comedies or musicals. Um, so like I had like Mars Attacks and Galaxy Quest because those are both fantastic sci-fi movies, but also horrific in different aspects.
I understand Mars Attacks being there. We've talked about Mars Attacks just between us. We haven't done a show on Mars Attacks yet, but we've talked about how much you love that movie. And that movie has grown on me over the years. It has really grown on me. It's not that I didn't like the movie when it first came out. I was one of those people who just thought it was fucking weird, and so it has grown on me.
Yeah, it's the whole Tim Burton thing. If you're not a fan of Tim Burton, it's like some people don't like Wes Anderson's
Yes,
aesthetic. It's
I
that
agree.
whole thing. But Galaxy Quest, that is a fantastic movie that is fucking terrifying in aspects.
Oh my God. Galaxy Quest is one of my favorite movies and probably the only movie other than Toy Story that I could stand Tim Allen in. Tim, I'm sorry, Tim, if you're listening to this. I really hate most of the movies you've ever been in. Yet, Galaxy Quest, I think, is one of the most brilliant comedies
It it
ever
really
made.
is.
And I never get tired of that movie. And even though it's not a horror film, it does have horrifying aspects in it, as Nozzle has pointed out. But it's good that we could talk about it because, like I said, it fit. I get it. It fits in with your Mars Attacks aesthetic right there. Like those two movies are just like you can watch the double
Yes.
feature of those two movies and just love that whole night there. So it's all good.
And then like I said, my other ones were sci-fi horror musicals, like Rocky Horror Picture Show and Little Shop of Horrors. So those are some of my little ones. I did throw in Invasion of the Body Snatchers just because it's a classic and it has inspired so many different things. Um,
You know what?
Reanimator, The Bay, Signs.
Oh, you just put a whole bunch of them on there. I do want to take a second to mention Invasion of the Body Snatchers because you know what? if I had thought of that as a horror film, that would definitely have been on my list. I have always just thought of that as a sci-fi movie, but you are absolutely right. It is a horror sci-fi film, but a lot of the horror elements are played down a little bit, except for the remake. The remake with Donald Sutherland, those
Hmm.
horror aspects play in really well, and you are absolutely right about that. Because
Yeah,
I love
it's
the first three. I did not
mhm.
like the invasion. That one has not grown on me. I've seen like 3, 4 times. It still is a shitty movie to me. But the first three, I really enjoy the first three. So
Well, and it's one of those things that like I feel like every genre of movie, some people will find aspects of it horrific. Like
hmm
we were saying with Ex Machina and Splice, they can be considered horrific not because they're horror movies, but because of what happens
hmm
to women in those movies,
oh yeah,
especially. Like there's a lot of stuff like that. You look at Companion, which was also one of mine on the list. That was a more recent one, and it also falls into my good for her category of movies. But you get these horrific aspects of all these different movies that are like, yeah, it's sci-fi, it can happen, but this is fucking terrifying in concept.
yeah. No, I get you on that. You're absolutely right about that. So I'm not yet. And the thing is that for a lot of different people listening to our list, their idea of what sci-fi encompasses will be different. And that's one of the great things about your list is your list goes through many different decades and different types of sci-fi films, and that's something I kind of forgot when I was putting mine together. So it's something that kind of reminds us that there are many different definitions of what is a sci-fi horror film, and sometimes we may gravitate towards one or the other. If I thought nothing but like sci-fi horror in terms of space, and my horror, I could have filled up this list really fast.
I mean, we could have put Jurassic Park on there and that would have been
Yes.
sci-fi horrors. And it's like I was saying earlier, there's so many subgenres of
Yeah.
sci-fi horror, which is probably the biggest subgenre of horror is sci-fi. It scans so many things because, like I said, you get the zombies, you get the plagues, you get the aliens, you get weird monsters and cryptids and Lovecraft and all of the other weird stuff that people can come up with is all science fiction.
Yep. You know what? You're absolutely right. We should do a much more defined and narrow sci-fi list in next year.
I know we did zombies at one point, but
Yeah, but we won't go back to zombies, but we can always do something different. We'll do the top 10 women in horror themed sci-fi
the
horror.
good for her horror films.
We'll come up with those because we love to do these type of lists and stuff like that. Um, are there any other films that you would like to mention for our audience other than the ones that you or I put on our top 10 list or the ones that did not make the cut?
Underwater and Color Out of Space,
Mm,
also fantastic movies, both very Lovecraftian.
hmm
One literally Lovecraft. Uh, but yeah, there's like you said, there's so many different ones that you can span across. It's hard to pick your favorites because there's so many options.
Yeah. So I'm going to add a couple more, and I'm not going to go into explaining them because because we're almost running out of time on our list. But I do want to mention another Cronenberg film, which is Existenz, which I absolutely loved. Existenz is just brilliant, and I'm going to mention our cult favorite movie, which is Night of the Creeps. Uh,
Yes.
I gotta mention that one. This and our last one, my last one, anyways, is going to be Altered States. I don't think Altered States gets enough credit for how fucked up that movie is with the concepts that are in there. And to be honest with you, some of the concepts may be a little passe now because so much time has passed since that movie was released. But I still think it's a brilliant sci-fi horror film. So, all right, with that, I want to thank you, Panazzo, for allowing me to egg your mind for your top 10 sci-fi horror films. It has been a pleasure talking to you about this and kind of narrowing the whole genre down a little bit more than just being a typical top 10 horror film list. It's always good to talk about different types of subgenres on our program because that's what we kind of do here for everyone listening. We kind of try and get an ideal of some of the other types of horror films out there from many different subgenres or different decades and generations of film. So I want to thank you for joining us on that. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you are all having a safe Christmas out there, that you will enjoy this and other programs and other that we've been doing this entire month, because we love the Yuletide holidays, and we have been touching upon a lot of great Christmas themed horror films, among other topics this month. From all of us here, Something Wicked, make sure to have a great day, and save me a present or two. Why don't you? Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.